World's biggest tourism fair, ITB Berlin comes to India, powering the first edition of BITB New Delhi. Hear them speak their minds. Meet them, do business, interact and network.
We are very, very happy to have with us Mrs. Jaya Jetli, who is chairperson of the Dastakari Art Samiti. Now, Mrs. Jetli has been working on this field of conservation of crafts and art for several years, for many, many decades. And this is something that I did not know and just been made aware of, that she is the one who set up the famous Delhi Art, which is now an iconic destination for tourists in the city of Delhi. And I think there are some more arts elsewhere in the city. She has been a champion of art and craft. So before we begin, I would request Mrs. Jaya Jetli to come up and say a few words, and she'll be with us for deliberations, discussions, whatever.
Hello and good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I have to, not as a formality, but because I really feel it, I feel very privileged and honored to be able to come here and speak at a tourism event, and thanks to INTACH, I'm here. Why? Because crafts for me, after 45 years of working with craftspeople all over the country, I have long realized that crafts, like anything else, cannot be in isolation. And somehow, as a matter of happy circumstance, ever since 1986, I have been closely connecting crafts with tourism. First, when the Surajkund Crafts Mela began, I was put on that board, and I'm still on that Surajkund Crafts Mela authority, where we try to make sure that the best crafts from all over the country come. And from that time, I kept thinking, is it that crafts has to ride on tourism to survive, or does tourism need crafts to survive? This has been a very interesting question, and more I feel confident enough to say that tourism needs crafts.
To proceed with the program, I will now request Mrs. Shikha to kindly come up on stage and give a talk.
One of the examples, that I'm going to quote is about the Living Heritage Festival, which has been started by the Maharana of Mewar Foundation in Udaipur. And it was with this concept, because when we prepared the conservation plan, it was realized that this is not just like a ASR monument which is just in ruins, but it has a continuity. There are traditions and rituals being followed, and they need to be showcased together. So even if we are doing conservation works in the building, the craftsmen need to be involved. When we restored the Nagar Khana Ki Chakri, even the Nagarchi was interviewed and the Nagara was reinstated, and he started using the Nagara act in the restored space. So it's not just the built heritage, but also the living one that gets engaged, and it's the whole site that comes alive, and which is what we need, especially in countries like India or Asian countries. Now the tourists across the world are not coming to see just monuments. They actually want to go inside your streets and spaces and experience the living heritage, the cuisine, the rituals, the craftsmanship that is there.
Next, I would like to invite Mr. Jose Ramani on the stage. His subject, ladies and gentlemen, is nature and holistic destination in sustainable tourism.
Thank you, Rajesh. Ladies and gentlemen, subject I have is, I believe it is going to be, I will reword it as experiential and holistic destination. And let me tell you, what I will do is, I think the time I have available, share the experience that we tourism is for an enterprise. And Jaya Jaitley is here, and her home and her palace is we borrowed from her and made it into an Ayurveda center. And we had a Swami Yogi Ratna, who from the Bihar school, who teach us on integrating yoga and Ayurveda. And she had one condition. The condition was that please obtain my Guru's blessings from Bihar. So I and my wife Anita made this perilous journey across Bihar and finally reached Bihar school. And to meet the Swami Yogi, to meet the Swami, the Guru, we had checked into the ashram, spent 2 nights there, do all that the ashram do. We did meditation, yoga, karma yoga, and finally on the 3rd day, in the hall, you sit with him and then, so all around, and beyond years from other people. And I said, I've come to seek your blessing, because that's what required by your disciple, Swami Yogi Ratna. And then I said, I also have 2 questions. One question is, we are conducting this as an enterprise, as a business. And the purpose of business is profit. Does it contradict with what we are doing in yoga? And then his answer was, if you had come and told me that you are doing it for serving the world, I would have thought one more of those. But instead, if you say you're doing the profit, sure enough, you will want to increase the profit, and therefore, the only way to increase the profit is to improve. And therefore, it does not contradict. The second question I said is, if the palace is luxury, does it contradict? So his answer was, kings and queens live in palaces, and they do not compromise. They don't need to compromise. And therefore, there is no contradiction there too.
Great job, Joseph. On this note, I'd like to invite Mrs. Harvinder Kanwar. Mrs. Kanwar is a much awarded travel writer. She has over 25 books to her credit.
I'm happy to be here to share some 30 years of experience with INTACH and as a travel writer. Now, I can see that there are a lot of experts here, and addressing them and sharing these thoughts is something that they're all familiar with because they're all experts in their own area. But I would say if all of us put together the experience that we have, whether it's in heritage or in tourism, I think we would be, counted as experts. However, I will just take you through a presentation to show what the gentleman before me had shown, how community involvement can help and enhance an area and also change it around totally.
It's very interesting that Mrs. Kanwar has spoken about building different agencies. We have the Indian Heritage Hotel Association. Then we have INTACH, then we have Division of UNESCO, and there are several other bodies, and I was invited to some of these meetings and seminars of these bodies. As a matter of fact, I'm on the tourism committee of INTACH, I'm on the executive committee of Indian Heritage Hotel Association, and it's a fact. We are all doing the same thing. Everybody wants to make a policy on how to preserve heritage and promote heritage tourism. I'd like to call upon Mrs. Bindu Machanda. Is she here? Bindu heads the Craft Community and Heritage Division of INTACH. She is the author of 2 well-received books, Forts and Palaces of India, which have been translated in several languages. Thank God. She has written a book on Jaisalmer, which has been working on restoration in Jaisalmer Fort.
Namaskar. On behalf of INTACH, I welcome you all here. Most of what I have to say has already been said, but still, because I have a presentation ready and I'm supposed to, I'll quickly go through. My topic is heritage tourism and creative economy, and how there's a linkage, a deep link between them. In INTACH, we believe that culture is a driver and an enabler, and without the cultural input in any experience, I'm just not talking about tourism or heritage tourism, no experience is complete without the cultural impact, or the culture being experienced of a place, of a person, of a situation. And creative economy, what is it? What is creative economy? Creative economy, of course, then becomes everything that an individual can create and can earn and sustain himself, his family, his village and city with that, and how creative tourism and creative economies are linked deeply. This is the concept. It's an evolving concept. It changes because now we think IT is also a creative economy. It's not just craft that's creative. IT is more creative or is differently creative. So anything that we create and which can impact, have a socio-economic impact.
Yeah, which is about creative heritage tourism, the innovators. First and foremost, I'd like to introduce Mala Barua, who is the owner of a company called Mystic Asia. Its focus is on wellness travel for the mind, body and soul through retreats, workshops, pilgrimage and educational tours.
Hi, thank you very much, Rakesh, for including me in this very illustrious company. I'll tell you a little bit about my own discovery of the spiritual heritage of India. Spiritual heritage is very, very intangible. It's more intangible than culture. Of course, we have the heritage properties, and then we're calling the intangibles the cultural stuff, like the music, the art. And I think everything that we do with our senses, anything we can touch, feel, hear, is still not as intangible as our spiritual heritage. And this we have the essence here in our country. And I feel that we're not tapping on that enough. I think both tour operators and hotels need to include and integrate spiritual heritage much more.
I would like to now invite Mr. Harkirat Singh. He is an entrepreneur. He established Citrus Country Farm Stays, a venture based in working citrus farm in rural Punjab. Set up in 2008, a pioneering project in Punjab. Right from the word go, the business incorporated the local and traditional ways of life into its daily functioning.
Hi everyone. It's nice to connect again, Mr. Mathur, with you after a long time. And I want to thank INTACH for giving me an opportunity to come and express my experience with all of you here. We set up this farm stay at the orchard because I was not in Hoshiarpur till 2000. I shifted back at the farm and realized that it's very important to have a setting where it would give us an additional income as well as get rid of a little bit of a lonely life. So I decided to set up a camp, but I was very conscious of the fact that the camp which I set should not be a very concrete one, I wanted people to come and experience a rural setting.
Our next speaker, I'd like to invite Mr. Hemant Katoch. Mr. Katoch started working on Indian battlefields in 2012. He was based in Imphal, Manipur, from the middle of that year till the end of 2014 to promote the 70th anniversary of the Second World War's Battle of Imphal. He researched the battles of Imphal and Kohima and conceptualized, designed and launched a series of battlefield heritage tours around them.
Good afternoon, almost good evening. I'll keep it very, very brief because I think I'm one of the last few speakers and it's almost 5 o'clock. There's supposed to be a presentation which is coming, but just to give you an idea, I'd like to refocus your attention now from Rajasthan and South India to actually our eastern frontier, in particular Northeast India. What I've been doing for the last 4 years is essentially looking at the Second World War in Northeast India. So we're looking at a part of our country's history which is not very well known. The fact that the Japanese actually attacked India during the Second World War in 1944 and fought around our bordering states of Manipur and Nagaland is something that is not very well known. So you've got a fascinating historical incident and you've got a lot in the region to discover about this episode. You've got Second World War cemeteries, you've got the Japanese war memorials, you've got the Indian National Army memorials, and you've got battlefields. You've actually got locations in the shape of hills, in the shape of villages, streams, roads that were fought over. Now, you'd think, so what? But there are enough examples from the rest of the world, perhaps most famously around the First World War battlefields around Belgium and France, which have made entire economies focused on battlefield heritage and done in a sensitive manner. You don't have to promote it in a coolish way of glorifying violence, but you can actually do it in a sensitive way that focuses on your own history, takes into a narrative of these natural landscapes and gives something a little different to a part of the country that doesn't get a lot of visitors.
Can I ask Mr. Ankit Rastogi, Vice President of Stay Zilla? Now Stay Zilla is promoting homestays, which is another very, very unique concept. So I'd like to, Ankit, why don't you come and talk about your homestay concept of heritage tourism?
Thank you, Martha sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Probably the last 5 minutes. I'll make it quick. The essence is, I think it's a great way to end probably the evening. And essence of all we have discussed about sustain. Oh, great. Probably I'll summarize that. And then I think it's a great way to understand sustainability. When we talk about ecotourism, when we talk about a lot of rural participation, I think it's a great way to bring back humanity into tourism. That's what we say, to bring back people into the tourism. And one of the ways which Stazilla has discovered that in last 1.5 years of a lot of groundwork is that homestays is a great way to see the unseen India. It very well correlates to what the gentleman before me mentioned about Northeast. Lot of the countryside in this country is beautifully crafted for sustainability. People are doing that every day in their houses. They are one of the foremost participants of any ecotourism project. We are all very consciously doing that in our houses in a day-to-day way. So why not just promote that? We have been listening on paucity of rooms as a deterrent to tourism in this country for long. A homestay is a natural way of that.
Okay, now I'd like to call upon Mr. Steve Borgia to say a few words about the pioneering work that he's been doing in heritage and rural tourism. Steve needs no introduction to most of us here, apart from being chairman and mentor of the Indico Group. He's also the current president of the Ecotourism Society of India. He's the vice president of the Indian Heritage Hotel Association, and many, many hats that he wears. Steve, can I ask you to come in?
Good evening, and thank you for these good souls. We are talking to someone. We don't know who that someone is. But frankly speaking, we are all doing what we want to do. Nobody told me to go into a remote village and build a 5-star hotel there. I defined 5-star there. Nobody told Shah Jahan to build Taj Mahal. Nobody told this young man to go build battlefields. Nobody told her to go and do write books on food. No, it's all our passion. And then we are trying to find a market for it. Right? And I don't think India needs to stand in a queue to be sold. Oldest civilization documented from the very first day. If I go into an international market and say Belarus is older than history, I need to spend 1 hour to explain to them what it is all about. 2,000 languages we speak, 50 languages we write, we taught the world how to count, we introduced airmail to the world. I think what we really require is a biscuit to sell this country. The way it should be sold. And I see that happening world over. You put one Angelina Jolie in front of one monument, next year that monument gets 10,000 entries. Why are we not doing it? We still want our bureaucrats to go and stand there. A guy who's holding that place for maybe 3 months, 4 months, who knows him? I think now we need to see how to change marketing style in our own way. I stopped believing in this. The other day we had a Miss Portuguese coming to India. So I spoke to her on phone and she said she's contestant number 3 for Miss World. So I said, I'll host you in South India, would you like to come? Believe me, she came with 7 great pressmen of the world. And she decided to do her photo shoot in my deer park. Luckily the deer cooperated. It was a great occasion. Now I'm getting WhatsApp pictures from those journalists who came saying that they're showing me pictures of the magazines in which these stories have come. India can sell by itself. What is that we don't have? Right? And creating product is the last of our problem. You take anything in India and show it like that to the world, you'll have 1,000 people coming. But showing it to the world and to the right world is where the issue is.
And I would now like to invite Mani, if there are any questions, we can take them on later. But I would like to invite Mr. Publani from INTACH to come up and wrap up the evening.
Good evening. Now, the only very quick observation that I have from this conclave is that for a tourism initiative, that was my first reaction when I entered into the room. We have so many sponsors lined up. Would this be the case if we had a same conclave titled Heritage Conservation? And if the answer is no, then that's scary. Because all these sponsors and all these organizations and initiatives, the raw material is heritage. They may be processing it and making several different products out of that raw material, but that raw material which is rooted and which is available in different parts of the country, very few people have the sensitivity to come forward and support that raw material. Few of us are doing that, so I am talking to the converted ones already. But would we have 10 corporates out of these who could sponsor or who could support INTACH initiatives, who at the end of the conclave say, look, we've come across this NGO and we would be happy to support your initiatives in different parts of the country. Corporate social responsibility, 2% is nothing for a company like Tata's and Oberoi's and ITC and Indigo and Air India. 2% is, I would not, it should be 20%, because where are your customers going? Where are your flights landing? Who are these people who you are getting from different parts of the world to the heritage site? And what is your CSR? 2%. It's laughable. It should be 20%. Because based on that 20%, you can then make your 80%. So we are still 1/5 of what we are asking for. And you are giving us less than that. So the point is that as an organization, INTACH does not publicize, INTACH does not put into papers, newspapers, websites, etc. or the social media what we do, because we are still like a craftsman and anonymous organization. If you need us, we are there. But we are not putting big banners and posters all over the country that we need your support. Now that is what I would say is Indian cultural consciousness. It is still not awakened in India.
Thank you, Mr. Putlani. Very, very well spoken and very important point raised. I think this brings us to the end of our... Yes, ma'am? Are there any...
Just one comment, I'm from ITB Berlin and we are working together with BITB, so I think all these important things that we heard about, all the efforts of heritage which have been done, and also including it into the whole thing of responsible tourism, because I think what we mainly need is a holistic approach, not to look at heritage and tradition apart from the rest of responsible tourism, because it's a whole concept which is really including everything. And at ITB Berlin we have something like a CSR in tourism day, a responsible tourism day. And you were just saying that all those people who are sponsoring, they are not listening. And I think it's characteristic really that this is the last session. It starts when everybody's already tired, but this is how it normally happens if we talk about responsible tourism. But as ITB in a way is engaged, so we should maybe think of bringing it in a more prominent way also to the ITB. So I will try to do my part for that it will not be the last session on the last day when everybody's tired, but that we can place it more prominently, because bringing responsibility into tourism is one of our big tasks at ITB Berlin, and I'm the CSR commissioner for ITB Berlin, and for us it's very important to bring it into mainstream tourism, as you very rightly said. So thank you, that was just my comment. Thank you.
Okay, I think this brings us to the end of our seminar. Thank you very much for everybody who's present here, and for your patience and your participation. Thank you.
World's biggest tourism fair, ITB Berlin comes to India, powering the first edition of BITB New Delhi. Hear them speak their minds. Meet them, do business, interact and network.